loneliness and isolation is a huge global problem. Actually, even long before the pandemic, the UK actually hired a minister of loneliness to address the issue. And before the pandemic, Canadians were already saying 1 in 5 of them were feeling lonely and isolated. The church, we are perfectly poised to help do something about this. And one of the ways we can do it is connecting digitally. So today we're talking about Facebook groups. Hey my friends, my name is Joanna Lafleur and this is Word Made Digital Tutorials. Today we're talking about Facebook groups. So here's a few quick tips about Facebook groups, how to use them and how to connect people and build against loneliness through groups online. First thing is, have a Facebook group. Do you have a Facebook group in your church, or do you have even multiple Facebook groups? They're an amazing way to not just have top-down communication, that is like leaders or authority figures talking to people and pushing information out, but actually multiple way communication where people can engage, where they can ask questions, where they can talk to one another. The whole group can get involved and build meaningful community around the group. So what kind of a group would you start? If you don't have any Facebook groups in your church, maybe you're thinking of starting one or you're not even sure what to do, here's a few ideas. The first one would be, I would encourage you to think of something like a free classifieds for people in your church community and beyond. Think of ways that you can share needs, abilities, and stuff with one another without money being involved. So if somebody's got a couch, somebody needs a couch, somebody's got dishes they no longer need, somebody needs dishes in your community, or more than that, abilities. There are people who have gone through illness and can't cut their own lawn. That could be a place where people could share the need and also meet that need with an ability of someone who could cut their lawn. You want to think about things like affinity groups, like maybe there's a group for moms, all kinds of moms who are alone and isolated at home, don't have a lot of connection, would love to connect in a meaningful way with other moms in their local community who are going through the exact same kind of stuff that they're going through. You could think about starting a moms group or growing intentionally your moms group, not just to be community of your own church congregation, but also the wider congregation of your town, city, region. Another thing you might want to consider is a health or sports group. What about a running club? What about something that's a health and weight loss challenge? What about a way to share tips around cancer or other illnesses that people want to come together on and share stories, share ideas, share problem solving. I'm even in a group as a pug owner for pugs. I have joined the group in my city and we're sharing conversations. I'm getting to know other pug owners and they're helping me as I'm asking questions as a new owner, and it's been an amazing thing to get connected that way. And we're going to meet in parks and actually get to know each other in real life. Now, what if the church, though, could do stuff like that? Not just for me as a dog owner, but actually for all kinds of people in our community. You want to think about things like that that will connect people, bring people together on a common interest, and grow as people find it and join. The third thing I want to say about Facebook groups as a tip for you is that moderation is required. You have to moderate the group that you've started. You can't just set it and forget it. You need to be actively involved. First of all, you want to be actively involved, not just to police it and make sure people aren't doing weird things in the group, but to actually engage the conversation and show people how you want them to use the group. So you can do that through asking great questions. Maybe you want to even have a schedule of what kinds of things you talk about on different days, or you want to encourage people through, as a moderator, if they post something that you love, post below that you loved it, share it, reshare it, comment, and get people to engage. That's the way through moderation, through moderators, that you can actually grow and encourage the cultivation of a group. Just like a garden, a Facebook group can get weedy and can get out of hand if there's nobody who's the gardener coming in to water it and to pull out the weeds and to trim things back. So along those lines, you also want to think as a moderator of having questions that people have to answer to join the group. You want to make sure that this group is a private group. Now that sounds contrary to the idea of building community, connection, combating loneliness and isolation, but because the group is private doesn't mean that people can't join. It just means that they have to go through a quick filter before they join the group. That means you're getting rid of bots or people who don't even really exist from joining the group. You're making sure that people who join the group have agreed to play by the ground rules, of the topic of the group, or maybe no profanity, or please don't sell your essential oils here in this group, or whatever it is that you have decided as the rules for the group, the ground rules are, they're going to agree to that when they ask to join the group. So you can say yes to as many people as you want, but I would encourage you to set up those ground rules, and by making it private, it makes sure that the group has some integrity. And then the people who are part of the group are going to enjoy it more because they know that the people who are there really actually want to be there. Tip number 4 is take advantage of some of the features that Facebook offers. There's new features coming out all the time, but some of my favorite ones are surveys and going Facebook Live by video. So surveys, you can ask people fun interactive surveys like, what's the best place in our town to get burgers? And you could post, a bunch of different options and people get to vote on it. Or if it's a more specific thing, you can literally ask them, what they want out of the group. You can engage them to tell you what they hope to get out of a group if it's like a free classifieds page, or what they find most valuable in the group. Or maybe you want to vote on something that's to do with, your favorite running shoes if you're the running club, or what you think is the best content we've seen this year in the Facebook group. You can get all kinds of content and feedback from people, and it's a really fun way to interact. The second thing I would encourage you to try out is Facebook Live. You can turn on video and go live and engage with your community every single week. I do a Facebook Live every week in the church communications group, and there's about 30,000 people in this group. And every week on Mondays, I go in and do a tutorial teaching live and engaging with people live, so I can interact, they can ask questions, I might have a topic of the day, but then they can give me feedback, and we're getting to know each other through that and building trust. It's an amazing way also to bring in guests and have interviews and all that kind of stuff. There's a tool that I'll link down below called Ecamm. That's what I use to go on Facebook Live. I love using it, and if you want to check out Ecamm, it's a great way where you can bring in other people as guests, you can add graphics and lower third text or anything you want to make it a little bit more fancy, but you don't even have to use it. All you have to do is click that little live button and go live and say hello. Maybe you want to think about trying that this week. The last tip I want to give you is to think small, not just large ways to connect. Think small micro groups, not just large groups of lots of people. If it's a small group, you might very well be winning and drawing people out of their loneliness, bringing people into meaningful connection, and bringing people out of isolation. You know that 81% of Gen Z see that smaller groups are an ideal part of what they think church should be. Now, of course, not a lot of Gen Z are necessarily going to be in a Facebook group. Facebook groups are probably better for adults, but the idea of doing groups and thinking small is a way to connect with people, especially in the digital world. Think small, one to one or one to a few, not just one to many. There's this poem that was written in the 1700s by a man named Lawrence Tribble, and the band Leland, a worship band, they put it to song. It's called The Great Awakening. And the words of this poem that became a song are, one man wakes and he awakens another. The next man wakes his next door brother. 3 awake can rouse a town and turn the whole world upside down. Many awake can cause such a fuss that it finally wakes the rest of us. One awakes with dawn in his eyes. Surely then it multiplies. Surely then it multiplies. So whatever you're doing to build community, those one-to-one to one-to-few relationships, I encourage you to consider Facebook groups as a meaningful way to build community, to connect people with one another, and to fight loneliness in our culture today. God bless you, church, as you go and do it. We'll see you next week with another video. Before I go, I have to give a thank you and a shout out to Compassion Canada, who are going to be making all of these tutorial videos possible week after week. I went to Compassion a few months ago and I said, the local church in Canada is going through this huge shift right now, this digital shift, and it needs all kind of help with digital and technology and communications and marketing and branding and production and what content to use and what tools to buy. And so I know you need help. And I know not everyone can afford to pay for that help. So I went to our friends at Compassion and said, you guys love the local church. Word Made Digital loves the local church. Can we together make this possible? And they've said yes. So week after week, we're going to be bringing you practical tutorials. I'm going to introduce you to some of my brilliant smart friends who know all kinds of stuff that I don't know. And we're going to bring you the best free content we can in order to help you bring the best news in the world to the world. Because of course, it's not just good news. Jesus is the best news in the world. So we want to make sure you are the best communicators in the world as the local church. See you next week.